"What in God's name are you doing in my bed?" Alexander Sterling's voice cut through the midnight silence like shattered glass. He stood frozen in the doorway of the master bedroom, rain dripping from his expensive coat, fury etched into every line of his weathered face. The woman in his bed, Sophia Chun, bolted upright, heart hammering against her ribs. Twin boys, Leo and Lucas, lay curled beside her like sleeping angels, their breathing finally steady after hours of nightmares. The teddy bear in Leo's arms rose and fell with each peaceful breath. "I can explain," Sophia whispered, careful not to wake the children. Her hands remained open, calm despite the storm in Alexander's eyes. They were terrified. Lucas had another nosebleed, and Leo wouldn't stop crying. The slap came without warning. Sharp, brutal. The sound echoed off the walls like a gunshot. Sophia stumbled backward, gasping, one hand flying to her burning cheek. She didn't cry out, wouldn't give him that satisfaction. Her dark eyes locked onto his, more stunned than afraid. "I don't care what excuse you have," Alexander growled, his voice low and dangerous. "You're fired. Get out of my house. Now." She stood motionless for a heartbeat, pressing her palm against her stinging cheek. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. "They begged me not to leave them alone. I stayed because they were finally at peace. I said get out." Sophia glanced down at the sleeping boys, so vulnerable in their innocent slumber. She leaned over gently, pressing soft kisses to their foreheads. Leo first, then Lucas. No words, no dramatics, just love. She gathered her shoes and walked past Alexander without another glance. He didn't stop her, didn't apologize. Mrs. Patterson, the elderly housekeeper, watched from the staircase as Sophia descended. The red handprint on her cheek told the whole story. The older woman's eyes widened in horror, but Sophia said nothing. Outside, the rain had softened to a gentle mist. Sophia stepped into the gray dawn, pulling her coat tighter, and began the long walk toward the gate. Back in the master bedroom, Alexander stood breathing heavily. Something felt different, wrong. He moved closer to the bed, and realization hit him like a physical blow. The boys were actually sleeping, not the exhausted collapse that came after hours of crying, not the restless tossing that plagued their nights. Real peaceful sleep. Leo's forehead was smooth, no worry lines, no cold sweat. Lucas's thumb rested peacefully in his mouth. His other hand relaxed on the blanket. 15 nannies, countless therapists, endless sleepless nights of screaming and tears. And this quiet stranger had accomplished what none of them could. And he had struck her. Alexander sank onto the edge of the bed, head in his hands. Shame flooded through him like poison. On the nightstand, a folded note caught his attention. He opened it with trembling fingers. "If you can't stay for them, at least don't push away those who will." No signature, just truth that cut deeper than any blade. He read it 3 times, each word carving itself into his conscience. His reflection in the mirror showed a man drowning in grief, suffocating on his own pride. From the hallway, Mrs. Patterson's voice drifted softly. "Sir." She didn't disturb anything in here, only brought them when the little one had his nosebleed. She stayed because they asked her to. Alexander didn't respond, couldn't respond. "They didn't ask for you, sir. They didn't ask for anyone else. Just her." Alexander looked up slowly, his eyes dark with something deeper than anger now, something that felt dangerously close to regret. Outside, the iron gate creaked shut behind Sophia. For the first time in months, the Sterling mansion fell completely silent. Not the comfortable quiet of contentment, but the hollow emptiness of loss. The boys slept on, unaware that the one person who had made them feel safe was walking away into the morning mist, carrying nothing but her broken heart and the echo of a slap that would haunt them all. In that silence, something had shifted, something that would demand a reckoning none of them were prepared for. To all our friends watching, we're on a mission to reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Your one click can bring us closer. If you enjoy stories like this, kindly do us a favor by subscribing to our channel. Subscribing helps us keep going and share even more powerful ones. Now back to our story. 3 days of unbearable quiet had passed in the Sterling mansion. The twins wandered like lost souls, asking for Miss Sophia, with increasing desperation. Their nightmares returned with a vengeance, worse than before. Alexander stood at his study window, watching his sons play listlessly in the garden, and finally understood the depth of his mistake. He found Sophia at the downtown community center, teaching art to a group of teenage girls, many of them runaways and foster children. She knelt beside them with infinite patience, her voice gentle as she guided their uncertain hands across paper. The mark on her cheek had faded, but the distance in her eyes when she saw him was unmistakable. "I need to talk to you," he said simply. The girls eyed him with suspicion, one stepping protectively in front of Sophia. "It's okay," she assured them, leading Alexander outside to a weathered bench. "I was wrong," he began immediately. "I judged you without listening. I reacted from fear, not reason. And I put my hands on you, something I will regret for the rest of my life." Sophia remained silent, studying his face. "I saw you in my space, in my bed," he continued. "And I let panic override truth. That wasn't just unfair. It was cruel. You didn't believe me," she said quietly, "even after your sons trusted me completely." "I know." The admission came out broken. "I'm asking you to come back, not as staff, as a partner in their care. Whatever title you want, whatever authority you need." Sophia considered this carefully. "If I return, there are conditions. First, no surveillance cameras in the children's rooms. They need privacy to heal." Alexander nodded reluctantly. "Second, family dinners at the table. All of us. No phones, no business calls." "Agreed." "Third, we create house rules together with the boys. They get a voice in their own lives." "They're 6 years old," he protested weakly. "They're people," she replied firmly. He almost smiled at that. "Anything else? The next time you raise your hand to someone who doesn't deserve it, I'm gone permanently." The weight of that promise settled between them. "Understood. Then I'll see them in the morning." When Sophia returned to the Sterling estate, Leo and Lucas exploded with joy. They raced down the grand staircase, flinging themselves into her arms with desperate relief. "We made you a welcome back picture," Lucas announced, thrusting a crayon drawing at her. 3 figures and a house with a giant heart over it. The caption read, "You came back when others leave." At breakfast, they gathered around the kitchen table. No staff, no formality. Just scrambled eggs, toast, and the tentative beginnings of something that might become a family. Sophia pulled out a notebook. "We're going to create new rules for this house," she announced. "Rules that help everyone feel safe and heard." Leo raised his small hand. "Can we have music during bath time?" "Reasonable," Sophia nodded, writing it down. Lucas added hopefully, "And no vegetables unless they're hidden in something good?" Alexander actually laughed at that. "We'll negotiate." Over the next hour, they crafted their charter. Always knock before entering. No yelling after bedtime. Hugs must be asked for first. Saturday pancakes are mandatory. Everyone gets one story before lights out. Sophia added her own contributions. Listen before judging. Apologize when you're wrong. Trust is earned daily. Alexander wrote in careful script. Make room for forgiveness, even when it's difficult. They taped the completed list to the refrigerator with cheerful magnets shaped like suns. That evening, as Sophia tucked the boys into bed, Alexander lingered in the doorway. He read to them, badly, stumbling over words, but they giggled at his mistakes and begged for more pages. After they fell asleep, he found Sophia in the hallway. "They've forgiven me," he said wonderingly. "Children are better at that than adults," she replied. "But you have to earn it every day." "And you?" he asked quietly. "Can you forgive me?" Sophia looked toward the boys' room, where peaceful breathing replaced the sounds of fear. "I'm working on it. Keep showing up, Alexander. Keep being present. That's how trust rebuilds, one day at a time." He nodded, understanding finally that healing wasn't a destination but a daily choice to stay, to try, to be better than the person he was yesterday. 1 year later, the Sterling Foundation for Healing Children held its inaugural open house. The converted East Wing buzzed with visitors, social workers, educators, and families drawn by stories of transformation. Alexander stood beside Sophia as she addressed the small crowd gathered in the sunlit community room. "We built this place on a simple belief," Sophia began, her voice steady and sure, "that every child deserves someone who will stay, especially when staying is hard." In the front row, Leo and Lucas beamed with pride, wearing matching t-shirts that read "Hope Lives Here," their own design. Behind them sat Mrs. Patterson, dabbing at her eyes with a lace handkerchief. The program had grown beyond their wildest dreams. 17 children now called the center home, each with their own story of abandonment and recovery. There was Elena, the angry 16-year-old who'd arrived with nothing but a duffel bag and a wall of silence, and who now led art therapy sessions with younger children. There were the Rodriguez twins, former gang members who'd found peace in the garden beds they tended with religious devotion. After the presentations, as volunteers served lemonade and homemade cookies, Alexander found Sophia in the newly completed memorial garden. Roses climbed wooden trellises while lavender scented the warm afternoon air. At the center stood a small bronze plaque, "For those who stayed, and those who learned to." 17 success stories, he mused, settling beside her on the stone bench. 17 ongoing stories, she corrected gently. Healing doesn't end with graduation. They watched Leo and Lucas chase butterflies between the flower beds, their laughter bright as wind chimes. The transformation still amazed Alexander. From hollow-eyed, terrified children to these vibrant boys who painted murals and wrote poetry and believed in tomorrow. "I have something for you," Alexander said, pulling an envelope from his jacket. Inside were legal documents, adoption papers making Sophia the boy's official guardian alongside him, and incorporation papers for their expanded foundation. No more uncertainty. No more temporary arrangements. Sophia's hands trembled as she read. She'd never dared hope for such permanence, such belonging. "Alexander, this is necessary," he finished. "They're yours as much as mine. This just makes it legal." That evening, they gathered for dinner under the elm tree in the back garden. Their family plus Elena, the Rodriguez twins, and 3 younger children who'd become part of their unconventional household. The table overflowed with voices and laughter, arguments about dessert, and plans for the next day's activities. As sunset painted the sky in shades of gold and rose, Sophia excused herself to walk the garden paths. She paused beside the memorial wall where children had hung painted stones, each one inscribed with a word that mattered to them. Hope, safe, home, brave, love. Alexander found her there, holding a stone Leo had painted bright yellow with family written in careful 6-year-old letters. "Do you remember what you wrote in that first note?" he asked. "If you can't stay for them, at least don't push away the ones who will." Sophia nodded, fingering the smooth stone. "I've been thinking about that," he continued. "About staying versus leaving, about building versus destroying. What we've created here, it's not just about the children we've helped. It's about proving that broken things can be made beautiful again." "Kintsukuroi," Sophia murmured, using the Japanese word she'd learned from Elena. The art of repairing with gold, making the cracks part of the beauty instead of hiding them. They stood in comfortable silence as fireflies began their nightly dance among the roses. From the house came the sound of children getting ready for bed, running water, toothbrushes, the soft murmur of bedtime stories. "Tomorrow," Alexander said, "the state education department wants to observe our homeschool program. If they approve it, we can expand to serve 50 children." Sophia smiled, still holding Leo's painted stone. "Then we better plant more flowers." As they walked back toward the house, Alexander reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Behind them, the memorial stones caught the last rays of sunlight, each one a testament to the radical act of staying when others walked away. Inside, Mrs. Patterson was reading the boys their bedtime story, a tale about a garden where broken wings learn to fly again. Through the window, the elm tree swayed gently in the evening breeze, its roots deep, its branches reaching toward stars that promised tomorrow would come, bringing new chances to choose love over fear, healing over harm. The Sterling Foundation for Healing Children had become more than a place. It was proof that families aren't born but built, one stayed promise at a time. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're building a community where every voice matters. Like, share, and stay tuned for more stories that challenge, uplift, and inspire.